Hey again, everybody. This is Lokendra, and this is the next video of Python, where we are gonna talk about installation, which we have already talked about. We'll be talking about. We're gonna talk about documentation, environment, and data type. So, guys, if you want to get kick-started with the Python, how to install Python on your machine, there is a separate video that we have created, and it is you can click on the eye icon on the top side to reach there and do the installation. Once you do the installation, you can come back to this video and resume. So this is a video when we presume that your Python environment is ready and you are good to start. So today in this video we are planning to talk about majorly about the data types in the Python. Okay, so but yes, before we just jump into the discussions, we should understand, and I would repeat that yes, the first is the official documentation of Python. That is the main section from where you will read about Python. That is the docs.python.org, and we are particularly talking about version 3.8. So there is a link that you can take copy it from the description also, or maybe just you can simply go on the Google and type Python docs, and you will reach to the link like this. I will just write a disclaimer that yes, it may happen that something that I am also telling here may be wrong, but it is some things which are written here are mostly correct. So let's keep that in mind. Now, first let's understand what are the environments. So in the previous video, we have installed Anaconda. Anaconda is something that is an IDE, and which will eventually help me to write my Python programs very beautifully. So what is IDE now? So IDE is just an platform where you can write codes beautifully, right? So it is an integrated development environment which helps you write better. So it is kind of support that you get. Okay, now so let's say my Anaconda is installed. If not, then follow the previous video, install it, and then let's come back to this page now. So what's first understand, how do you recognize a Python file? Okay, so in Python we have a file which is ending with py is termed as Python file. So if I am writing any program and if I'm saving it, then if an interpreter needs to know about that Python file, it should end with the py. Okay, so what is interpreter? Now question can come in our mind, what is interpreter? You know the answer? Perfect, just write down the answers in the description box. If not, then I'll tell you. Interpreter is just I would say a mediator, or basically a translator, which is sitting between you and your hardware. Okay, or hardware, as we all know that hardware is someone who is just able to understand the boolean 0 and 1. So interpreter has a duty to transform the Python English like language to a language that a hardware understands. So let's focus on this line only, and rest we'll keep on understanding as the program goes forward. So interpreters takes the inputs from the user, from the runtime, from the IDE, from the notepad, wherever you're writing your program, process it, churns it, and converts it to a signal which a hardware is able to understand. Okay, so and we need interpreter for in all kind of platform that we need. So Python software is supported in multiple languages. It supports in it supports in Windows, Mac, Linux, and other platforms as well. So for these, this software is kind of designed in that way so that eventually it is able to talk to your hardware, right? So if you are on the shell platform, then there is it is already by default available in your machine. Sometimes you do not have the latest version, so you just have to update it. Maybe if it is on CentOS, you just have to write dnf update and dnf update Python, or if you know any particular Python version that you need to install, that you can just get it installed. If you have any problem in Linux Python installation or Python upgradation, just let me know in the comment box. I will create a separate video to cater that need. But yes, Python by default supports Python, but in Windows we may have to install it. That is what we have already talked about. Now coming to the next section, that is very important for people who are new to it, that how do you run a program? How do you run a Python program? So it's very simple. First, I will write a program. I will save it in the name extension as py. I told you py is needed so that interpreter understand that you are passing a file which is of a Python extension, right? And then you will write Python 3 and the space file name.py. So remember, this is notebook, Jupyter notebook, the screen that you're seeing in front of you. And in this, we will not normally do like this. We will simply go ahead and click this run button, and it will do eventually this thing only at the back end. But if you are using a Linux environment or a shell environment, or console environment, then you may have to go to the directory where this file is placed, and you will have to run all this. So as of now, let's first understand the flavor of it, and maybe sooner or later we'll also do some coding on the Linux platform to have this feel also. Okay, so next, this very small thing, that if in case you are planning to install, there are few conditions, but this is not mandatory. What is the minimum RAM? 32 GB. You can have that installation done on 8 GB also, 4 GB also. Sometimes if you are doing a heavy coding, then it might get failed. So that is why it is not it is recommended, but it is not the minimum limit. So I will just say it is. What is your RAM is a question that you should ask, and what is your hard disk that you have. Okay, now moving further. So if you want to know that what kind of Python version is being installed in your machine, so you can just simply write Python version into your Linux machine. And here normally, you in the notebook, we normally have this Python 3 on top of it. Okay, so once this is done, we can simply write our first program. So here I will just in Jupyter, if you are less aware of Jupyter, so it is very simple. You just have to click on this plus sign to have a next line, and here you can write your first program. Right, this is our first program or something. So what is print, what are these brackets, we will just get to know in some time. But yes, for now, if I will just go ahead and click on this run button, I will have this information printed just right below. So this is the beauty of a notebook, that you can have a line by line compilation. Right, every line you can just keep on running it one by one, so that you have a more ease of execution. Right. So guys, if you are able to make some sense here, then we will now enter into the main core understanding of this session, that is data types. And it is really very interesting, because these are the building blocks of Python, and with the help of this, you get to learn more and more about Python. Okay, so there are majorly these types. What you see in front of you are these types of data types which are available in Python. So one is integer, the other one is strings, the third one is sets, tuple, boolean, and then two very important are the lists and dictionaries, which are also mostly termed as in this section of data structures in Python. Okay, so before I just go and dig more into it, I would just say that these are the topics. If you know, then you can say that yes, I know basics of Python. So these are the basic elements or building blocks of Python. Okay, so let's talk about them, a little about them, each of them, and then from the next session onwards, I will pick each of them in one separate class, and we'll go with a lot of examples, and we'll keep on doing multiple possible features that are available with them. Okay, so let's talk about integers. So what are integers? Something is already written here, but if you want to give it a thought, you can just let me know what are integers. So integers are basically what? These are the numbers, decimals, floats that are available in the in us for us to consume. For example, I want to find the sum of two numbers. I will need two integers, okay, or maybe two decimals, or maybe two floating numbers. So these are the integers. These are the basic mathematical elements which we use in Python. So percentage, or calculation, or performing complex mathematical operations. So we need integers as a data type of that particular type that we're using it. Okay, so now if you want to know what exactly is the type of that data type, that variable that you're using, you can use a type method, which is a function which is already available with the Python. So why do we have to explicitly use this type? Because in Python, like for example, if you see here, I write a is equals to 4. We as a person know that this is 4 and this is number, but computer will not know until unless it is being told to. This statement was true till Java, or at present also there are other languages also, but in Python it recognizes it smartly. But for you to understand, you will just have to know the type of that number. So I will just write type function and the name of the variable. What is this? A is a variable we will have more discussion about these variables and all. But it's for now, let's understand a is a variable which is on the left hand side and equals to the center, and the right hand side is the number 4. That is the value which is being assigned to a variable called a. And I want to know the type of that variable, so I will just write a print. Print is for printing on the screen, and then type. And if I run this by pressing this run button, I will see that it is showing an int. So integers are of type int. Okay, so in further classes we will also understand why this is really important, but for now, as we are building a concept, so we should understand this type will tell you the type of data type. Similarly, for the other data type also, you can just use type to get the type of the data type that you are working on. Okay, so similarly, if you are taking a is equal to 4.4, you can just say print type of a, then you will get to know that this is a float. So integers and floats, they are all of integer category. So this is also another type. So sometimes people say that it is having data type integer and float. They're separate, but yes, they're separate, but you can call them in the category of numbers, right? So next, the data type that I was talking about is strings. Strings are also special. Normal strings, that statement that we talked, but yes, it is says it is a combination. It is a combination of single or more than one characters quoted in single quote or double quote, right? This is really important. So maybe I am learning, this is string. I is a string. I am learning in multiple lines is a string. So that is a string, and this will have a type str. We'll have a separate session on this and understand more about it one by one. So let's go to next is sets. Sets are represented are in this, in the parenthesis, and they are of the type set. This is one of the most unique feature that Python provides, right? Tuples, again, they are of the type tup, and they have their own mutability or immutability feature available in Python. These are the unique USPs of Python, right? Next data type that we will talk about is boolean. So booleans are basically, as the name suggests, it's true or false. Boolean true, boolean false, right? Next, very important, very important, are the list and dictionaries. So list is what? Lists are just normal list, right? If we go to a grocery store and we have us things to buy, so what we normally do is we create a list of in a paper, and then we try purchasing things accordingly. So it's basically a collection of similar or a different data types, and it's called a list, right? It is being recognized as parent, the square brackets. Okay, and they are of type list. Very important. So anything which is in the square bracket is list. There are multiple items which are being separated by commas. We will have a very detailed session for this, but yes, for now let's understand the concept. And next is the dictionaries. So what are dictionaries? Dictionaries are a combination of keys and value. Basically, you can say that these are the kind of translation dictionaries, or if you have seen here any Oxford dictionary or any English dictionaries which have key and value. So it is basically a combination of key and value, where key will always remain unique and values may or may not repeat. So this is one of the most powerful feature of Python, which once we understand, we will be able to make some sense. Okay, so guys, at this point I would say we will understand these one by one, but yes, if you are having a good hold of all this subtopics, then I can say you can start calling yourself as a basic Python person who knows a little of basic Python, and you can interpret the understanding, because after this point, whatever you will do, read, understand, interpret, will be based out of all these basic blocks. Okay, if you're able to understand, if you have any problem, just let me know. You can just simply post your questions and queries uh, in the chat box, and let me know if you have any problem. And the next session that immediately will happen will be on the integers and floats. We will have an introduction over there, and then maybe we can understand the examples and how we are actually consuming it. Okay, maybe we can then take strings and sets and all. But yes, if you are liking this video, please do like it, share your comments. If you have any problem, any particular related to installation, related to configuration, Kickstart, because if we have initial bed, then we would be in a position to do much better. Okay, and yes, the key takeaway is that we have understood the data types of Python, and these data types are very much important for the to become a good Python developer. Okay, now what you guys can do, you can do installation, you can try reading all these videos and subscribe the channel if you have not done, because this way you will get to know when my next video or maybe any other video is coming on. Right, thank you so much. This was Lokendra, and hope you are able to learn well. Thank you, take care, bye.